On behalf of everyone here at the United Way of the National Capital Area, we would like to thank you for volunteering for our third Project Homeless Connect event in the District of Columbia. Project Homeless Connect will take place on Thursday, October 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This training will help prepare you to volunteer at Project Homeless Connect. Project Homeless Connect is a one-day resource fair that brings together DC service providers to meet the immediate needs of individuals experiencing homelessness in our community. Please complete this training in its entirety, as you will learn valuable information to ensure a meaningful and successful volunteer experience at Project Homeless Connect. By now, you should have received a volunteer information packet. It may be useful for you to follow along in your packet and refer to relevant sections that we're discussing. In this training, we will introduce you to Project Homeless Connect and inform you of key elements that make it unique. We will talk about event details, time and location of the event, as well as directions and public transportation information. We'll discuss the layout of the event and provide you with a brief overview of services being offered. And finally, we will inform you of what to do in the unlikely event of an emergency or critical incident. So let's get started. Project Homeless Connect is a one-day resource fair that began in San Francisco and has become a national model for providing easy-to-access services for people experiencing homelessness. This model has been recognized by the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness as a national best practice model and has been replicated in almost 300 cities across the United States to date. This is our third Project Homeless Connect event in Washington, D.C.
Helping D.C.'s homeless population with some much-needed services, it's something many of us take for granted.
Today, the United Way launched Project Homeless Connect at the Central Union Mission on Mass Ave in Northwest. Dozens of local service providers volunteered their time helping hundreds of people. Now, those services include medical testing, legal help, foot care, and even haircuts.
Oh, man, it's wonderful, man. It's wonderful. It's good for the community, man. I appreciate all the volunteers that's here. Thank you. It's well needed.
There are more than 8,000 people in the D.C. Metro living in shelters or out on the streets.
For people who are experiencing homelessness, obtaining basic life necessities such as food, medical care, and a safe place to sleep can be extremely difficult. While there are many services available for those experiencing homelessness, the condition of being homeless oftentimes creates barriers to accessing these services. For example, it is difficult to keep an appointment with a doctor when you don't have a car and can't afford a bus ride across town and back. Project Homeless Connect is essentially a barrier-reducing event. Instead of having to make an appointment to see a podiatrist, participants can see a podiatrist right away. All services are free of charge. One thing to keep in mind is that the way we talk about homelessness is very important. We refer to the attendees of Project Homeless Connect as participants, and we ask that you do the same. Many professional advocates suggest that it is more appropriate to refer to a person as someone who is experiencing homelessness rather than a homeless person. The term homeless person implies that homelessness is a permanent trait rather than a temporary condition that can be overcome. We only bring this up because it is important to pay attention to the way you talk about homelessness when you are working directly with someone in this situation. At all times, you should try to be sensitive and understanding because the dignity and common humanity of our participants is of the utmost importance. At all times, you should respect participants as individuals. Treat them as you would want to be treated if you needed assistance. Respond with kindness. We can make a difference in the lives of people experiencing homelessness when we respond to them rather than ignore or dismiss them. Not all participants are experiencing homelessness. Some participants are income challenged or are at risk of becoming homeless. They are still welcome to attend the event and receive services even if they are not currently homeless. No one is required to prove their living situation in order to come to Project Homeless Connect, and the event is therefore open to all. Next, let's review important event details. Project Homeless Connect will be held on Thursday, October 19, 2017, at the Kennedy Recreation Center, conveniently located 2 blocks west of the Convention Center in Washington, D.C. The nearest metro stops are Mount Vernon Square and Shaw on the yellow and green lines. The Kennedy Recreation Center is located at 1401 7th Street Northwest and can be easily reached by public transportation, which is strongly recommended. There are also private parking garages nearby where you can park for a fee. Additional information can be found in your volunteer packet. Next, we will discuss volunteer shifts. There are 4 volunteer shifts. Shifts begin at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 3 p.m. We encourage volunteers to arrive at least 15 minutes prior to their start time to check in, receive updates, interact with others, and be ready to volunteer. Lunch will be available from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in order to accommodate the diverse schedules of our participants. Lunch will be provided for all participants, providers, and volunteers scheduled for any of the 3 volunteer shifts. Lunch ends at 3 p.m. Water and light snacks will be available throughout the day. Volunteers will receive a ticket at the end of their shift to redeem for lunch. Event teardown will take place immediately after the event, which is scheduled to end at 4 p.m. on Thursday, October 19th. When you arrive at the Kennedy Recreation Center, please enter on the O Street Northwest side between 6th and 7th Streets Northwest. Please note that providers and participants will enter closer to 7th Street Northwest. Volunteers will help direct you. You will be asked to drop off your volunteer liability waiver and photo release forms, which are included in the volunteer packet. We will also ask you to provide us with an emergency contact. Please print, complete, and bring these forms with you. After providing us with your signed forms, you will then be asked to proceed to the volunteer check-in tent to receive a Project Homeless Connect shirt and volunteer assignment. You should promptly change into your Project Homeless Connect t-shirt. It is important to note that there will not be any space to store items such as backpacks or purses. So please do not bring any of these items with you. Only bring what you can carry on your person at all times. Please wear comfortable clothing, preferably with pockets, and closed-toe shoes. Wear a t-shirt that you can put your Project Homeless Connect shirt over. Expensive watches and jewelry are discouraged. Again, please do not bring anything besides what you can carry on you or in your pockets. Volunteer roles. Volunteers can be assigned one of various roles, and roles will be assigned on an as-needed basis. Most volunteers will be participant guides, which is the primary role at Project Homeless Connect. Other volunteer roles include special skills like speaking a foreign language, mental health experts, and medical professionals. Please note that as the day progresses, you may be reassigned to a different role as needed. Please be flexible and ready to adapt to changing circumstances. If there is ever a time that you have completed a task or need to be reassigned something to do, please return to the volunteer check-in tent. Another group of volunteers that you will see throughout the day are the general volunteers. This year's volunteers come from Mentora College, both locally and around the world. As mentioned, the primary role is that of a guide. Each participant will be assigned a volunteer guide to travel with them throughout the event to help them access services. You will get to know your participant throughout the course of the day. This year, we expect to help 500 participants, and we're happy to report that with your help, we have successfully recruited over 350 volunteers to help in various roles. Remember, most volunteers will be guides.
General volunteers will serve as greeters or human arrowers, and other tasks which include zone captain assistants, zone runners, and service station monitors.
Greeters will be positioned outside as people approach the venue. In most cases, greeters are the first point of contact that participants will have at the event. If you are assigned to be a greeter, you should go to your assigned area immediately after receiving your t-shirts. Greeters should smile and say hello and welcome as participants approach the building, and should direct volunteers and participants to the volunteer and participant check-in areas. If an incoming participant is confined to a wheelchair, please direct him or her to the main entrance located at the front of the building for additional assistance. General volunteers will wear a yellow Project Homeless Connect t-shirt. If you do not know the answer to a question, please look for an event team member wearing a red shirt. A red shirt indicates the team member is a member of the planning group and will have additional information and authority to help you should you need anything in assisting a participant and/or about Project Homeless Connect. Another general volunteer role that you may be assigned is that of a runner or floater. Runners will help service providers, assist with crowd management, and other tasks such as delivering messages or courier items. If you are assigned the role of a runner, please report to the volunteer check-in tent as soon as you arrive to receive your t-shirt. Runners may be asked to deliver documents, make photocopies, or bring lunch to service providers at their table to ensure services are not interrupted. If there is not an immediate task for you as a runner, please be patient. Your goal is to be on standby for and when an event staff or service provider needs something done. Another role that you may take on is in the giveaway area.
Volunteers in the giveaway area will distribute donations to participants. Donations include dry meals, hygiene kits, blankets, towels, socks, and gloves, just to name a few. Donations will also be accepted on site the day of the event.
Participants will be given a ticket to redeem for giveaways. After proceeding through the giveaway area, be sure to thank the participant for coming. Specialty roles, which will be assigned on an as-needed basis, include translators wearing the purple t-shirts, medical professionals wearing the blue t-shirts, and mental health experts will wear green t-shirts. Remember, a red shirt indicates that the team member is a member of the planning team. He or she will be able to answer your questions and/or assign you a task. As a guide, after you receive your t-shirt, please get into the pairing line to be paired with a participant. Please be patient while in line. It may take some time for you to get to the front of the line and be paired with a participant. When a participant arrives at the front of the line to enter the event, they will be paired with a guide. Participants will be given a pen, clipboard, provider directory, and other important documents for the event. The first of these forms is a liability waiver and photo release that your participant will need to sign. Please note, your participant is welcome to refuse to sign the photo release.
If the participant refuses the photo release form, they should be given an orange wristband, which you can request from Volunteer Central. The second form is the services questionnaire.
This questionnaire essentially lists every service being offered at the event. Based on the answers to those questions, you will create an itinerary for the day. You should try to get a sense of how long the participant is available to stay at the event, so that you can more effectively budget their time. It is very important that you do not promise any services to the participant. Some of the service providers may not have the capacity to serve everyone at the event. In short, please think about this form as a sort of wish list, and please do not suggest that any service is guaranteed. The final form on your clipboard is the exit survey, and you will need to complete this survey with your participant just before he or she leaves the event. This form is very important for us to get feedback, improve upon the event, and report outcomes. We recommend volunteers offer to help participants complete these forms. After the forms have been completed, you and your participant are free to enter the building to access services.
Bag check for participants is located by the baseball diamond.
Many people experiencing homelessness carry most of their possessions on them at all times. Please encourage your participant to check his or her bags, as this will make traveling throughout the event much easier. The participant will receive a numbered wristband when their bag is checked. Remember, as a guide, your task for the day is to help the participant achieve their desired goals. So please defer to the needs and priorities of the participant. Finally, some of the services tend to be very popular, and you should seek these out first or with priority throughout the day. Please be mindful of long lines. When your participant is ready to leave, please proceed to the giveaways area. After proceeding through the giveaway area, the participant cannot get back in line for food and/or to recheck their bags. You should return to the bag check area first to collect your participant's belongings if he or she has checked any bags. If your participant did not check any bags, please direct him or her to the giveaways area. Before your participant leaves, please make sure to fill out the exit survey that is included on your clipboard. Now we'd like to take a moment to give you a brief overview of the services being offered in each area. There are multiple services available to participants, which include haircuts, employment assistance and financial stability, housing assessments, legal services, podiatry and medical assistance, other support services such as library services and voter registration. There is also HIV testing services. Participants interested in employment services can start with a brief intake and assessment by a trained employment counselor based on the participant's experience and interests. The employment counselor will direct the participant to the appropriate employment service provider that may take place on or off-site. If a participant is interested in HIV testing services, please take him or her to that station as a final stop. To protect confidentiality, please say goodbye to the participant before they enter the HIV testing area. After testing, another volunteer will accompany the participant to the next stop. The giveaways area is the last area that your participant may visit before leaving the event. Participants should have received a ticket to redeem at the giveaways area. Make sure to complete the exit survey before parting ways with your participant. Please be sure that the participant has their lunch ticket and bag check wristband. After you part ways with your participant, you should immediately turn in your clipboard and wait to receive your next assignment. As the morning participant guide, you will be relieved by another guide approximately 15 minutes before the end of your shift. For our warm handoff procedures, please listen for an announcement from a volunteer in an orange shirt by 12:30 p.m. As the AM shift is ending, the PM shift will begin and another volunteer will relieve you. Finally, we'd like to take a moment to provide you with some details about what to do in the event of an emergency or critical incident. In the unlikely event of an emergency, seek guidance from and wait for an announcement from a member of the event team. The procedures for what to do next will be made clear, and so it is important that you remain calm and await these instructions. Remember, event team members will be wearing a red shirt and will be able to answer your questions. That person will make the determination to call 911 if necessary. Your participant may face mental health challenges. In the event that your participant experiences a mental health episode, or if you are concerned that your participant is in crisis, trained mental health professionals will be on site to assist. Mental health professionals will be wearing green shirts, and they will be located throughout the event. If you are having difficulty communicating with your participant due to mental health difficulties, you are welcome to reach out to one of these mental health professionals for help. Should you witness a critical incident, such as a crime or an emergency, please contact an event team member wearing a red shirt. Critical incidents include situations such as an intoxicated participant, an incident of sexual harassment, a hostile or potentially violent encounter. These situations need to be reported immediately. If you see something, say something. Do not attempt to resolve these situations on your own. Please allow the safety professionals to do their job. Safety is our top priority at this event, and we want all participants and volunteers to have a productive and enjoyable experience. Some additional tips for a positive experience. We'd like to offer a few tips to ensure that you have a strong and positive experience volunteering at Project Homeless Connect. First, remember to treat everyone with dignity, respect, and compassion. Volunteers should talk with their participants, not at or about them. A great way to show your respect from the beginning is to introduce yourself with a smile and a handshake. Learn the participant's first name and use it often in conversation and when in guiding them throughout the event. Remember that some of the participants will want to talk to you about their stories and experiences. Listen actively and attentively, but do not feel pressured to comment or offer advice. If participants do not want to answer a question on the intake form, simply explain the importance of the information on the form, but do not be too assertive. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't hesitate to ask your questions to any event team member in the red t-shirt. Be flexible. It should be no surprise that some services may fill up fast, and there can potentially be long lines in any area or on any floor. So try to maneuver the participant as much as possible to get them to all of their requests in a reasonable amount of time. And finally, remember that the services being offered are for participants and are not for the volunteers. Please do not take any freebies or giveaways from service providers, as those items were meant for individuals experiencing homelessness and poverty. Service providers have a limited budget, and the special accommodations being made for participants experiencing homelessness are not meant to be taken advantage of by the volunteers. That being said, keep in mind that every service provider is a potential organization that you might consider volunteering for or donating to in the future. One of the great aspects of Project Homeless Connect is that it gives you a snapshot of the landscape of service organizations in the city and the surrounding community. If there is a service provider that you are particularly drawn to, feel free to get their contact information or provide them with yours. This event is a great place to build up your volunteer networks and partnerships. This concludes our training for volunteers for Project Homeless Connect. Feel free to contact us via email at volunteer@uwnca.org. Remember, if you have not yet registered to volunteer, please do so as soon as possible by visiting us online at www.phcuwnca.org.
Thank you for volunteering for our third annual Project Homeless Connect. Know you'll make an immediate impact to help someone access vital services to help improve their life. Look out for our volunteer survey to share your experience.